We're picking up back in the green room today. Look at
We
that.
sure are. What a week.
What a week, twice in 1 week with some really fantastic interviews. And we just love being in the green room, bringing in our special guests. So, hello to Lauren. And also, hello to Stefanie Dougherty. Welcome to Green Glow. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I am not just a guest today, but a true fan of the Green Glow podcast. I listen to you guys all the time. So this is an extra special, exciting day and a huge honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, Stephanie's our fan, and
I am a
Stephanie's so
fan.
cool.
Totally fangirling today. Thank you.
Amazing. Well,
I
thank
love
you. Oh
that.
my, I know. I do love that too. That's awesome. I love that we have a fan in the green room. This is great. And also for our listeners, Stefanie and I happen to also be related. We are cousins and we're going to learn more about Stefanie's background, but we have been sort of spending a lot of time together over the years in this kind of work in the wellness space. And it's just been really fun to have that connection, especially as we grew up together and now we have this like special connection and overlap. So it's just been really great to be able to connect this way. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Lauren, why don't you go ahead and take it away with a bio?
Absolutely. And I do want to do, since we're on the family shout outs, yesterday was my mom's birthday. So I'm just going to throw that one out there because she hates her birthday. So I'm going to mention it.
Happy birthday, Mama Plunkett.
Happy
We love
birthday.
her so much. And she got herself a horsey a couple weeks ago. So she is now going to be able to, now she's the mother of a new horse, which is always what she dreamed. So way to go, mom.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yay. Okay. Back to Stefanie. Stefanie is a whole food plant based chef, cooking instructor, and nutrition educator with a certificate in plant based nutrition from the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies at Cornell University. She founded Green Sage to offer guidance to those wishing to maintain a healthier, more plant centered diet and lifestyle. Stefanie shares her own simple, healthy recipes on her YouTube channel, on her blog, and on social media. Her mission is to help people come to truly enjoy cooking and to discover how delicious plant based foods can be. You may recognize Stefanie as a recipe creator behind the Mastering Diabetes weekly meal plan and the Amla Green Meal Plan and Cooking School. She is also a social media content creator for Forks Over Knives and other plant based brands. You can connect with her on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook at Green Sage Life or on her website at greensagelife.com. Welcome again, Stephanie. Yay!
Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
My gosh. I mean, I love all this. And one of the reasons why it was really important that we would bring you on here on the podcast is that, you do focus so much on the food and on bringing that life into the kitchen. And I've marveled at the recipes you've created over the years. It's just been so wonderful. And you have
Yeah.
such a creative spirit. So we're going to get into this and we're going to talk about the kitchen and all of these things. But first, just as like a little to kick things off here, how do you personally define whole body wellness?
Oh my goodness, big question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I had to put a picture together, there would be facets. And for sure, eating well is a huge component, maybe even at the center of wellness in general, I would say, because it's the fuel, it's the for your body and your mind, but it also I think it sets the context in which all these other things happen in your life. So for me, that's primordial, but there's also a really big movement component for me. Consistent daily movement is a huge part of my overall wellness. And then more lifestyle aspects as well. Like, um, I think I feel best when I have a sense of purpose to my day, to day-to-day life, that I'm looking for activities that provide that for me or relationships that provide that to me and activities that bring joy in. I think joy would be another huge facet if I'm pursuing things that just make my heart happy. That's a really important part of overall wellness. And then probably also uh, a community in which to share that with. And I think if you've got all of those components together, that you're pretty far down the path to achieving some whole body wellness.
Love that. I love that you're bringing in all the different facets of like emotional well-being. We have all these parts of our being, right? The social, the mental, emotional, physical, and you really were hitting on all of those, which is amazing. And I also really appreciate that you brought in the community aspect, because I agree. I've seen that over the years, and in all the different types of work I've done, having people around that, you are inspired by, that you can inspire, inspiring one another. That's like so important. And especially, I think women tend to want to have some sense of community around them. And I do think that it's a place where we can really thrive when we've got people around. I know that in some of your work, like you have groups of people that you're working with and you're creating that community yourself. And I'm sure you've seen some people really thrive in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think generally human beings are social creatures, and especially women. I think you're so right. We really crave each other's companionship and guidance in a way that is very special, I think. And I know that you two are fostering a community on Facebook as well as podcast listeners, right? So that's another great place online to connect with people. I think it's all wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we're definitely looking to foster that too. And you mentioned bringing joy into your life and following things that bring you joy. So, talk a little bit more about specifically, I want to hear about joy in your kitchen,
In the kitchen.
because I believe you spend quite a bit of time in your kitchen.
Do. I know that not everyone feels this way, but I really do feel joyful in the kitchen, and not just in the kitchen, but actually throughout the whole process of putting food on the table. So everything from the food shopping to the chopping and the prep to the cooking to the serving it, enjoying it myself, but also feeding the people I love, like every aspect of that for me is joyful. And so I love sharing that with others, and hopefully I can bring some of that joy to the forefront, because it's a process that almost everyone has to go through in their life anyway, so you might as well be able to find joy there, especially when eating well and eating high quality food that you mostly prepare yourself at home is such a crucial aspect of general wellness, like we already talked about. So yeah, I love to share that. I feel like when I walk into the grocery store, I do have this sense of, like, huge gratitude. Like, "Oh my gosh, I get to come in here and pick the food that I get to bring home and enjoy and feed my husband, who I love so much, and my family when we have gatherings." And it's like, if you look back over the course of human history, how easy it has become for us to get to this point where we can do that for ourselves and others is like we won this cosmic lottery. Like we were born into a time of history where we didn't have to, grow the food and, all of these things. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with growing the food, that can also be a source of joy for many people, but how easy it has become to bring this kind of delicious food into our homes, really from all over the world if we want to. And yeah, so I love food shopping. I love that process. And it goes right into bringing it home, like chopping it, looking at how beautiful a carrot can be, or the dark green color of kale, or, feeling the whole rice grains or the oat groats in my hand or the lentils. Like all of that for me brings so much joy. And then, of course, it's delicious. And so, sorry if I'm droning on here, but I just get really excited about this. But just, there's a really, it's a shame. It's kind of like, maybe we'll get into this more a little later, but a lot of people have the misconception that plant based food or healthy eating is boring. It won't taste good. It'll be bland. And that breaks my heart, because truly it can be so delicious. And I have so many omnivore friends and family who can sit down at my table and truly enjoy the meals that I create for them. And that also brings me so much joy.
The grocery store is your Toys R Us. Like,
Yes.
you're in there and you just see color and things that you can blend and play with and create, and I love how you just turned cooking into an artistic and kinda meditative moment. Remember the first time we met, Stephanie, you made me feel like, "I'm the person in the aisles that gets in everyone's way, and I don't need to feel bad about it." I love going to the grocery store and seeing what I can pick up, especially when it feels like I'm doing something right, like I'm making decisions that really support me physically. And I think I've learned to enjoy cooking more when I feel more creative at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. There's so much opportunity for that, especially I think because it's sort of like an alternative cooking, a set of cooking recipes, right? Like there's an extra opportunity for creativity in the kitchen, because it's not traditional, right? It's a little bit fringe for some people to have to work around the idea that there needs to be animal products in the meal. Certainly there does not, but it can be fun to recreate a dish from a cuisine from around the world in a way that does not use animal products but still tastes every bit as rich and delicious.
And as you're talking about that, I'm reminded of one of the programs that you were doing where you did the cuisines from around the world, and you were sort of integrating like your love of photography plus your love of travel and of food, of making new recipes and making food fun and delicious. I love that idea so much, and I thought that was just such a brilliant take on bringing your passions into your kitchen, right? And bringing that joy into the kitchen, and that you were then able to turn that around to teach others how to expand their world a little bit. And that's what food brings us. And I love how you said that, like, we won the cosmic lottery by being born now, because you're right. I can go on Amazon today and order lentils and spices and things, and it'll be here tomorrow from all around the world, right? All these different
Exactly.
flavors.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really ever thought of that. So thank you for pointing that out. It's so true. And so in the work that you've done, you've worked with a lot of people over the years. What kinds of things do you find that people feel the most challenged by, or what are the things that they're looking for help with in the kitchen?
Yeah. Um, they are vast and there are many, but I think there's a common theme, which is that as people, we tend to be drawn toward activities where we feel competent and we have confidence in. And for a lot of people, cooking is just not one of those areas. And so it becomes something that they have to do. Often, if there's children involved, we have to feed them, or, spouse or whoever, not to mention ourselves. And it becomes this thing that people dread. What am I going to make for dinner tonight? I have to do this again. And it's on repeat forever. Um, and so one of the things that I really strive to do is to help them find that state of competence and confidence where it becomes routine and it becomes easy. And there are some strategies we can apply, like batch cooking, for example, and we can go into those in more detail in a few moments. But just to find that place where it's not something that you dread, but something that you can find joy in and feel like you're capable there to do that. And I think that goes a really long way to helping overcome the obstacles, because I think everyone knows it's a great idea to eat more fruits and veggies. If somebody approached you on the street and said, with a laptop, and said, I want you to watch this movie about where your food comes from, everybody more or less knows that's a horror story, in the animal agriculture world. But there's still something that's preventing many people from taking that next step and actually implementing it. And I think it has a lot to do with the how and the routine of it. And so that's where I really try to bridge the gap.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Bridge is everything. I mean,
Yeah.
from a clinical perspective, the bridge is everything. It's the teaching, it's the educating, but the how to and the application. These are where these two worlds should be working together in the same space all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's such a service to people to be able to hear, like, I'm understanding why I should eat this way, but I can't quite get there because hectic life, and part of it is only seeing your situation for what it is, like feeling like you're stuck there and that everything does just have to kind of be in that same space. So for you to kind of like start talking about how you work through that, like, what do you eat when the cooking part of cooking is too hard?
Right.
What do we do? What do we do?
Exactly. And advanced planning goes a long way as well. Like just a little bit, because I know some people don't like to plan their meals for the week in advance because they don't know what they're going to feel like eating on Thursday if it's Sunday night, for example. But even if you just have a list of 5 recipes that you're going to make for you and your family this week, you put that together on Sunday with your grocery list. And then at least you can fill them in according to your whims and according to what you feel like on any given day. I think that just a little bit of extra planning, it really doesn't have to be more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes most, to really help yourself kind of overcome that. Oh, I just got home and it's Wednesday afternoon and I don't feel like doing anything. I'm going to call the Chinese restaurant down the street and we're all going to have kind of a greasy meal that's not really promoting our health in any way. So, I think that that's another really big aspect to it. And then finally, I think I would say having just it, I think like there can be a mental block. It feels like overwhelming to think, I have to learn a whole new set of recipes, a whole new way to cook. But really, that can be done one recipe at a time. And before you just try a recipe, pick one off the internet. You can go to my blog if you want, or anybody's, doesn't matter. and try a recipe. And if you like it, print it out, slide it into a notebook, get one of those, make it fun, like a scrapbook. You can have like a 3-ring binder and then slide your printout into one of those plastic protectors, because when you have your binder out and you're cooking, it's going to inevitably get splashed with food or something. You can just wipe it right off. But anyway, you have like a little binder of your favorite recipes. You don't really need that many to have the feeling of variety in your weekly, monthly rotation. Like, honestly, it's maybe 10 dinner recipes. If you ate a recipe on Monday and then the same thing 2 weeks later, like, you're not going to feel like, oh, that's boring, right? So it doesn't take much to have, a little portfolio of your go to recipes that you're used to shopping for and that you're used to making, and you get good at it and you do it real quick, where that can become, not so much drudgery anymore to make dinner every night.
Do you think the hardest part is the start? Like it never gets harder to make the same recipe twice?
It's so true. Yes. Yeah. I think maybe the biggest learning curve of the whole thing will just to be to get to that point where you've got your 10 favorite dinner recipes. But I mean, again, that could be just a matter of months, and then you've got them. Like, it doesn't end up being as difficult as you might imagine over time.
What's coming to mind to me is, remember our trapper keepers from
Yes.
I feel like we need a merch store with like Green Sage Life Trapper Keeper, like Green Glow Trapper Keepers for people to put all their recipes in
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that idea.
What's
because
on the
it's
cover? Is it like your 8th grade crush from,
maybe.
the
Magazine. Yeah, magazine cutout.
Nickelodeon or something?
Yes, from 17 magazine. That's right.
Wow, blast
Okay.
from the past.
Yes, if I was going to say, if you are listening in and just flashbacking to the 90s or beyond, just we're here with you. So, but you're so right. And, I've even heard that most people actually, in general, make the same 6 to 8 recipes
Exactly.
in their life, like on rotation. But having that portfolio, like knowing, like having that actual resource in your hand makes such a big difference. And I mean, I have one or two that are almost on a weekly repeat.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. I do
They're
too.
just
Yeah.
my very easy go-tos. If I don't know what else to make, it's going to be my lentil mushroom. It's a deconstructed shepherd's pie, basically. It's
Oh,
just
yeah. Yeah.
mashed potatoes, peas. But that's also really convenient to have a go-to for those in a pinch moments.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah, those are great strategies.
Actually, while I can just throw something else in here, I do have actually a free ebook that I call Quick Dinners. You can download it on my website, and basically it's my 3 favorite plant-based dinners that you can put together in like 20 minutes or less. And it has a little shopping list in there of the things that you can just get used to buying on a regular basis to be able to make those when you haven't planned and you need something quick. If anyone's interested, you can just get that for free on my website.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you. We will definitely post a link to your website, greensagelife.com.
Yeah.
And also, so yeah, go out, get your Trapper Keeper, get your 3 recipes from Steph. And we have a vision of also posting some recipes that we're making in our kitchen, to our blog. So like you said, Steph, like check out people's blogs. It's a
Right.
great place to go. I
So
know that
many.
you're doing content for Forks Over Knives as well. They're one of my go-tos, I have to say. And you don't even have to subscribe to their meal planner,
That's right.
really. They have so many free resources and amazing recipes on their website. If finding recipes that feel appealing to you is what you're looking for, Forks Over Knives, I could not recommend more, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So good.
awesome.
I ditto. Their spinach artichoke dip is I can't. I love it so much. I need to make it now because now I'm getting hungry. I knew this would happen, but I've been thinking about it. The spinach is in the fridge and it's like I bought like 2 cans of artichokes from Trader Joe's, I think is the best place to get artichokes.
Because they're in
And
water, not
I
in
know,
oil.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Trader Joe's blessing.
Well, actually, I was just going to say, it's funny you're bringing that up because I just recently started shopping at Trader Joe's, and you mentioned being in the grocery store, right? Like when you're in the grocery store, what are you thinking about in terms of filling your cart?
Well, yeah, that's a nice question. That's a good way to look at it. I usually have a list, to be honest with you. I have an ongoing list that I just keep at all times on my table, on my kitchen, or wherever. And so when I run out of something that I'm usually buying, then it goes right on the list. Like I won't forget about it because it's on my list as soon as it's getting low. So I just have like a set of veggies and fruits that I always buy. And then anything that I'm running out of that are my staples are going to go into that list too. I do have a little bit of a routine around that, a little bit of a strategy. But then in addition to that, I'll think about, okay, what meals do I think I want to make this week? And then I'll just make sure I have the ingredients, and anything I don't go on the list. It's not rocket science, but that's sort of how I approach that. Yeah. But I don't really like impulse buy very much. Like, unless there's something new at Trader Joe's and they have it featured and it's like, oh, this is a new, trying to think, like, oh, they, for a while they were carrying pure date syrup. And I was like, oh, this is nice to have. They didn't used to have this before. So I'll pick something up like that. Or, ooh, if you haven't seen these yet at Trader Joe's, I get so geeked out by this stuff. But the black fermented garlic in the spice section of Trader Joe's is like, takes your food to the next level. So don't pass that up. It seems like it's a permanent ingredient on the shelves now. It's been there for about a year. At first it was like off and on, like they were testing it, but now it seems like it's always there. Get yourself a jar of that, add it like you add garlic, or you can like garnish your dish with it. It has such a rich flavor, but like when you add it to soups and stews and curries, it adds this really nice deep garlicky but like umami flavor to your dish. So don't pass that up. Like you have to get some of that.
I
Amazing.
love garlic.
I know.
Garlic is just a must around here,
Oh my
and we
gosh.
don't care how we smell. Like garlic is anti-inflammatory and amazing. So, how does that pop? Does that pop a lentil? Does it pop a potato? Like, what do you think is the best way to use something like?
I put it like I was saying in soups and curries mostly. Sometimes, and here's another great like strategy. I always have some whole wheat spaghetti in my pantry and like a oil free or low oil tomato sauce. So in a pinch, I can cook some lentils, which only takes 15 minutes, and I really want to come back to lentils. But
Me too.
you just add them to your tomato sauce. You've got this lentil bolognese that you put on your whole wheat spaghetti. If you've got some veggies you want to like use up before you go to grocery shopping again, like you can throw them on top. It's such a quick and easy but wholesome and even high protein meal that you should just always have those things on hand, I would say. Um, yeah. Okay.
I bet if we did like a walkthrough of our pantries, I'll bet they're like probably identical. Because I agree,
Yeah,
like lentils, tomato sauce, veggie broth, like there's certain things that are just like staples.
for sure.
And even if I feel like those are the kinds of things that I just put in my cart to make sure I'm not running out of. I don't do so well with a list as much as you. Like I love the list
Uh,
that's sitting there ready to go. That's a great strategy.
yeah, yeah.
But
And
the
yeah.
stock the pantry party is always a fun one.
Oh my gosh, maybe on a future episode we can like explore each other's pantry. I don't know. That's more of like a YouTube thing than a podcast thing. But if we could invite everyone over to your YouTube channel and
Yeah.
do a little voyeurism.
Would be, wouldn't it?
That would
I
be
wrote
really
that down
fun.
what you said because I think that people oftentimes they go, "Okay, here's my list. I brought these things home. I'm like eating fiber forward. That's what I'm trying to do." But then they have a stressful day. And it's like you have a complete short circuit in your brain with like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like I have the ingredients, but I just can't think. So I think what you're saying is a solution is have that binder, find those recipes, save yourself the frustration and get into food a little bit, right? Like get into it, find a spark and maybe section a certain time out. Like how do you kind of like excite someone as excited as you are about it, which I can understand. But like I might not have thought of that tonight. And I have the ingredients that you just mentioned, and I probably would have just,
Um, very
and settled into my comfort zone with food. But how do you like give that spark to somebody?
I think that's it. I think there's like a mindfulness component to it. And maybe I could tell you a little bit about my background and how I came to be plant-based and everything. But for me, just to answer your question directly right now, there's like you can find enjoyment in these little details of the whole process. Like I kind of just briefly mentioned, like when you're chopping the carrot, like look at how pretty it is. Like it smells delicious. It's beautiful to look at. Like there's ways to get excited about it and feel like it's a meditative maybe is not the best most descriptive word, because I think maybe a lot of people associate meditative with like I'm about to fall asleep or boring, but just like that state of mind where you're not really thinking about too much else, when you're really focused and you're in the present moment, just focused on what you're doing. And there's so much deep peace in that. And as a result, so much happiness that like kind of springs forth from your heart. Gosh, I'm starting to sound real flowery and I don't mean to, but that's how I feel about it. Like think of it as something beautiful, because it really is. And maybe that will be the thing that gets you up off the couch and says to help you to say, "Okay, it's not so bad. It's It's actually quite a lovely thing to do for myself and for the people that I'm feeding.
Yeah, well, it reminds me that, when we're in our senses, like you're describing this very sensory experience. And when we're in our senses, we drop out of our head, we drop into our physical sensations.
That's
So
right.
looking at the orange color of the carrot, smelling the smell of a fresh cut tomato or basil, all of those are sensory experience, which can bring you into more mindfulness or presence. And that helps to actually, it literally is shown to reduce anxiety. I mean, to reduce that anxious mind because you're getting out of your brain and into your body, just like breath work does, just like so what you're describing to me sounds a lot like an anti-anxiety relief and in a good way. So that may be partly why it's bringing you such joy. It's bringing you really into that moment, into the present, and it's very centering to be that experiential with whatever activity you're doing, and especially with when it comes to the fresh foods that you're like,
Yeah.
describing, like everything you're describing. I'm like, oh yes, that is so lovely.
Oh my gosh, like when you're peeling a beet, and
Mhm.
you're kind of like pulling back the dirty layer, outer layer, and you see this beautiful red or this beautiful gold color underneath. I'm like, it's just, it sounds like, I don't know, maybe it sounds like I'm taking drugs. I'm
Hi,
not,
I'm
I
like,
promise.
hi,
I
I'm
just,
veggies.
yeah, it's just, but that's sort of, you're right. It's the effect of immersing yourself fully in that experience while you're having it. And I think honestly also that slows time down. I think we're always saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's April 24th. I can't believe it's already 6 o'clock in the afternoon." Like there's so much of that going on in our daily lives, and I think the best antidote for that is to stay really present in as much of your daily life as you can and to find the joy there and the beauty in every possible moment. I know it's not always easy. I'm not saying that I don't ever struggle with that. I certainly do. But that's the goal.
That love it.
Tell us everything about you before I start asking more questions about
I
your background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us how
Okay. Yeah, and
tell
maybe
us everything.
it might be a little become clear already, but I did kind of come to this from a place, well, okay. I I grew up in a meat and potatoes household. So like a very standard American, a potato or a starch, a piece of meat, and a boiled frozen vegetable, something like that every night. It was a wholesome meal. But I never liked meat. So for me, it never ended up being a sacrifice to give up the meat part. When I was 18, I went to college and I just declared myself vegetarian, but like I had no idea what I was doing. And like most 18-year-olds left to their own devices, it was a lot of pasta and fries and pizza, So, and when you're 20, it doesn't matter. Like you just kind of shake that off and you don't even understand. But in my 20s, I started a meditation practice after I finished grad school. I moved to Boston and I was going to the local gym where there was an Ashtanga yoga teacher there. And if you're not familiar with that kind of variety of yoga or school of yoga, it's a very rigorous practice. And it's deeply physical, but of course still the focus in the instruction is to bring your mind into the present moment, put your body in an uncomfortable position and learn how to breathe deeply there despite the discomfort. So it becomes a very beautiful kind of daily school for your own mindfulness and your own personal development because a lot of stuff comes up while you're in those uncomfortable positions, but you learn to deal with that. But what it also does is it creates this testing ground for patterns to emerge because the practice is pretty much consistent from day to day. If you're really practicing seriously, you're practicing 5 or 6 days a week. My practice for many years was 2 hours a day. I was dedicating a lot of time to this. For those of you who aren't as familiar with yoga, there are lots of different styles, and some of them are more relaxing than others. This is more like gymnastics. Like it's intense. So you're standing on your mat every day and you're about to do the same series of postures in the same order that you did yesterday and the day before and the day before. It means that your body, whenever you stand on your mat about to begin your practice, is the variable in the equation. And every lifestyle choice that I've made for the last 24 hours since the last time I stood here, patterns start to emerge and it starts to become obvious how those impact the way my body feels as I move through this practice. And I started to notice that when I had animal products, dairy in particular, but also refined sugar, alcohol, my body was tenser. It felt heavier. And then when I had like a salad for dinner the night before, it was so light and effortless, and my body was not inflamed. It was open. And And so those observations really started to inform my lifestyle choices to a greater degree as time went on. And at the same time, I'm a big geek. I started reading about nutrition. And this was really interesting too. Earlier in my 20s, my sister and her boyfriend at the time told me about the zone diet. Do you remember that? It was one of the many iterations
Really?
of like low carb, high protein. They did have a special book out about how to do that even if you were a vegetarian. So I bought that book and I started to it was like the light went on in my mind, like this was even before my yoga practice really, but because when you're in your 20s you don't notice the vagaries of life impacting your body so much as you do now. The My food choices impact my body immediately. I could tell right away. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh." I started reading about nutrition, and the more I read about nutrition, the more it was confirming what I was experiencing in my own yoga practice, and so it was became this self-reinforcing cycle, and, so I will say though that I did not end up giving up the dairy and the eggs until a little bit later. It was a very organic, gradual transition for me. And maybe by my mid 30s, I had given it up entirely. And toward the end there, it was really only, it was just, I was vegan at home. And then sometimes we would go out to a restaurant and I would get a piece of cake or, there would be some cheese on my salad, fine, or some cheese on my pizza, whatever. And then eventually I just didn't want that either. So for me, the giving up was never so much a sacrifice as just I kind of lost my appetite for it at this point. Like it's not serving me in any way and I don't want it anymore. So that's sort of how I came to this spot. And but I've had so many different personal interests in my life. Like Kylie mentioned, like I've always been into photography and I was a linguist by training. I was a French translator for almost 20 years. So I was really into writing and um the cooking and baking were always a passion of mine. And this all kind of culminated in this blog that I started to share my recipes with friends and family. I called it Green Sage. It's greensageblog.com. And then around age 42 or so, 7 years ago, I got, I just, I couldn't translate another day. Like I got to the point where I was like, this is the work that I was meant to be doing. It really felt like everything that I had been interested in, from the yoga to the personal development to all of it, the photography, was setting me up to be able to share this with other people. And so that's what I wanted. That's why I want to do this. I want to help people skip that trial and error, skip the learning curve that I went through to learn that how to make this beautiful food, and just help people get right into the joy of it right away.
Amazing. And isn't it amazing too? I mean, that's one of the first things that I've heard people say too, is they really can feel a difference when they
Yeah.
eliminate certain foods that can cause more inflammation.
Yeah.
The refined foods, the sugar-based foods, dairy-based foods, things like that. And you really saw that showing up like within you had like a 24-hour window where you could really see each influence of all those little variables. I feel like a little experiment for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's really
Scientific
interesting.
method.
Yeah.
As much as we can, when we're talking about the human body. But yeah.
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 For so many of us, I think for the three of us, it's the changes that we made had such a profound impact that we weren't expecting,
Yeah.
that it takes on a spirituality. When you have a yoga practice first and both of you have that background, yeah, that yoga practice. And I did a yoga regularly before I became a cycling instructor, believe it or not. Like that was how I started to learn more about how it fit my personality, I think, for movement and exercise. And then plant-based, it's like, I don't know how to describe what it does. It opens up something for you. And for depending on how trained you are in healthcare or in food or whatever brought you there, I think that's what ends up changing your path. Like it could be, wow, I really see how this is a solution for mental health, or it's a solution for something related to physical health. And it kind of starts to go in other directions where now you're curious about where food comes from. And maybe you're curious about what grows more locally. And there's something really big that happens when people start to pay attention to the plants. It's so much bigger than just, I don't know, your one meal, your meatless Monday. Great. We celebrate that, but wait and see what happens next once you really get into it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. And it's so funny because, like, as you were telling the story, I'm like, I can remember all of those pinpoints. I really do.
Yeah.
I remember when you declared yourself a vegetarian, and I was like, I thought it was cool.
Oh, thanks.
You were like my cool older cousin. I was like, this is
Aw,
amazing,
thank you.
but I didn't understand it either.
Yeah, well, that's just it, and maybe that's something we can talk about too, because a lot of times when you decide to do a whole food plant-based lifestyle or whatever, there's some resistance from the people who care about you, and they don't understand it, or they're skeptical, or it goes against what they were taught is right, and so that can be a real challenge
Hmm.
sometimes.
Well, first of all, I'm sure that that's something that comes up with some of your own clients as well, and the people that you've worked with. Lauren and I have definitely explored that and experienced that. How did you meet resistance? In what ways were you meeting resistance? Like, in what ways were you feeling like you were just supported or offering things?
Yeah, I think I was lucky. I didn't meet a ton of negativity about it. I think there was some I don't understand. Like, for example, my mom's side of the family is Italian, and my grandmom was like born in Italy grandmom, was like, "Can't you just eat the tomato sauce with the meat in it? Like, it's crumbled up, like, you can't really tell, you know?" And it was so sweet because for her, that was her way of caring for me, was to make this food for me, and she wanted me to eat it. And she was so sweet, though. I know some people really encounter some hostility, which is unfortunate. But I will say this, I've always approached it like, first of all, if you're getting together with your extended family, please bring something to share with everybody. I think it's such an opportunity. First of all, then you're covered, right? Because you can't really expect other people to know, at least at first, how to cook for you. But it also is such an opportunity to open them up to it. And you don't have to force it, but like I remember when I was in my 20s and I would bring something and people, my uncle's like, "Oh, I don't like Brussels sprouts." And I'm like, "But have you tried them roasted? They're so amazing. Like you probably had them as a child out of a can and they were disgusting." And like, of course you don't like that. That's not how they're meant to be enjoyed. And he totally came around on the Brussels sprouts, by the way. Like I've had so many friends say like, "Oh, I brought quinoa, crumbled like taco spiced quinoa for a taco bar," right? And in place of like a ground beef for your tacos. And I had a completely omnivore friend say, "I don't know why I would ever use ground beef again. Like this is delicious." So there are always opportunities for sharing that. But I think whatever you do, try not to get defensive about it, because when it comes down to it at the end of the day, you don't have anything to prove to anybody else. Like you can just say, if the conversation gets contentious and they're challenging you on your protein intake or whatever it is, you can just say, "I just think this is working for me right now," or "This is just something I'm exploring for myself right now." And nobody can debate that, right? Because that's purely from your experience. There's not really much else, you can just let it go. However, if they are open to the conversation and they wanna know more about why you're making these choices, don't have that conversation during dinner. Say, "I'd love to talk to you about this. Let's talk about it after dinner," because you don't wanna be insulting other people's food while you're eating it or while they're eating it, right? So, like, and not that you would be insulting, but, when you start talking about animal agriculture and someone's having a piece of chicken, it's unpleasant for everyone. So, like, it's not gonna serve your higher good. But if they're open to it, it's a really great opportunity as well. I think it's something entirely different, though, when it's your immediate family.
Well, what brings to mind for me is that it's another part of like our human experience, which is you have the right to say yes or no to whatever you
Yeah,
want. And I think that that's another lesson that I believe a lot of women in their 40s are finally coming into. Like, I get to say yes or no to what I either eat or consume, or, I have the right to say no and no thank you, and for to have people actually hear that. And, I think that that's a bigger kind of takeaway too, that you don't have to be forced into eating something that somebody's serving you. And again, if you're bringing something to share, that's been a great strategy for us as well. Introducing people to things that also taste amazing is a great strategy.
I agree. Yeah, yeah. And then it opens up more people to the possibility that maybe not every meal needs to include an animal product. I think in our society, people are very deeply steeped in that belief that, like, it's not a complete meal without that. And I'm not going to be full without that. There's going to be some adjustment that needs to be made. You have to have more of the rest of the ingredients, or you won't be getting enough calories. Animal products are calorie dense foods. Plant based foods do not have as many calories for the volume. So you have to eat more of it to feel sated. And that's just an adjustment that you can make over time.
That hits the nail on the head in so many ways because of this. Well, it's certainly a United States thing to be carb phobic, but it's severe, it's serious, and I don't think there's enough credit given to how drastic it is become because of diet culture. And it's almost like shaming people for eating potatoes and for lentils. And it comes across my mind this way with how did we get it so twisted to call potatoes bad, to get into nutrient dense foods, and it's been on repeat, this pro protein stuff, because the more we hear it, we're conditioned to then just go, well, everywhere around me, it's protein, protein, protein. And then we associate that with just the animal, but not even the animal, it's the word meat. And we disassociate from what that actually is, like the word pork from pig, we disassociate. And that's just what we end up thinking is okay. So there are so many stages to what plant based nutrition is and why it gets so people are so terrified of it because, oh, it's all carbs. And if you guys need to go back and listen to all of our episodes about a carb is never just a carb and our protein mo problems, check it out because we aren't playing when we talk about how twisted the world of thinking about carbohydrates actually is. Because just as Stefanie was making very clear about the lentils and the pasta and the sauces, that can be a high protein meal, no joke. So knowing like where you are and what you maybe need to get over in order to eat this way could probably be a first step for, like asking questions to an expert like Stefanie is a safe space for sure.
Thanks. And Kylie and Lauren as well, helping people every day with this exact thing. So yeah, I agree. And I think it can be even a little bit a different situation when we're talking about the immediate family, like the people who you're actually cooking for being hesitant or unwilling to, on some degree. And I think there are strategies we can explore, especially with the help of a coach, to address that. But ultimately, I think customizable meals that every person in your family can add to or subtract from can be a really great solution. I'm talking about things like a taco buffet or like a veggie stir fry where if someone wants to add their chicken breast that they bought at the store at the end, then that would be a great solution. Things like that where that way you're not a short order cook in your own kitchen making 8 meals for different people. I think also creating a culture in your family where it's not a foregone conclusion that there must be animal products in the meal for it to be complete. Like there are a lot of cultures in the world where that is definitely not the case. A piece of meat is a once a week occasion. Those cultures also incidentally happen to be a little healthier, living longer as a result. But I mean, we can go there on another day. But just that it happens to be a very Western, particularly American viewpoint that there needs to be a piece of animal on your plate in order for it to be a whole meal. And it really does not need to be the case. And if you live that way and you show the people in your household that you're a thriving, healthy human being without that, then that goes a really long way to helping them become more open to it as well.
Yeah, it's that sort of like leading by example a little bit. What I've seen and heard is that people will get an idea. They'll have this experience like you had. Like all of a sudden you notice your body was feeling better and all of a sudden you're like, I have the answer to wellness and feeling my best. And I just want to shout it from the rooftops and tell everybody. And I kind of went through that myself when I first was like discovering the benefits of learning about plant-based nutrition. And I mean, I really do remember that. Like, how do we not all know this already?
Right.
And I think that letting people approach you with the conversation, if you are approaching dietary changes, really of any kind, for some reason, what we eat matters to everyone else in the world. I don't know if it's because food is just such a big part of life. We have to eat. We have to eat. We need food. So that means it's something that we always will be thinking about to some degree. It's something that we're probably always going to be learning about. And especially now as nutrition science develops more and more. And as we're interacting with other people, I mean, it's true. When we are doing something different, it pokes holes in other people's reality, or it enters in the question of like, well, why are you doing that? Or what does that mean? And, I kind of like you at the dinner table, it's like, maybe not here, maybe not now, but, or like, my question is, are you sure you really want me to answer that question? Cause like, it's
I have
about
asked
the,
that sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it could be a little bit of a wormhole for you. And it was for me, my curious mind went straight down it, right? So I do think that it's right. There is some subtle, we have to kind of be aware of the conversations.
Yeah. Diplomacy, let's say.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, have a bit of diplomacy. And I think that that goes a long way with being able to still enjoy meals with people. And again, who's to say you can't have it all? Like, why can't we have the added meat at the end of the meal prep so that way at least some people can have the meal without the meat involved, right? So, like, there's ways to approach it so that it's accessible. And to your point, Steph, I think you brought up a really good point that, like, this is where coaching really plays a huge hand. From our point of view, the three of us, like, we sort of step inside your life for a little bit and we can sort of show or see things differently from a different vantage point that might work differently for your family, or things that we've done that have worked for us or we've seen other clients be successful with. And so that's where having a coach or joining a program with other people who are also exploring the same strategies is just so valuable, and finding that community of people that you can kind of openly talk to about any change that you're making really is really valuable. So
Yeah, so
Really
you don't
lovely.
unload at the kitchen table, right?
Right.
Because it's too easy, right? Like, okay, I have a fun question for you, Stephanie, because this popped into my mind. I have a client who is traveling around the country and living out of like a camper, kind of a travel van, but has a kitchen in there and has enough space to do a little work. What do you have? What are the most critical things to have in a tight space in a camper? What are your appliances that are going to be the success to plant based? Like 3 or 4 things that you can keep around.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
going to first say like coffee machine.
Okay, that's fair. That is very fair.
mine was going to be can opener.
Yes, 100% can opener. I mean, you don't even need an appliance for that if you just
Yeah.
have like
Well,
the
that's true.
tool
Yeah.
itself.
Just the
But
Yeah,
yeah.
tool.
there's
Yeah.
space for that, right? Like you've got your drawer, you can put space in. But people living in a tiny home, that's a
Okay.
thing. The
Okay.
minimal, right? Like we don't have space for a
Gamer?
air fryer. We
Oh,
don't
okay.
have room for an air fryer. Yeah.
Right. 100.
So
Okay.
like small
Okay.
spaces. What do you have?
I actually have van life fantasies. So I have thought about this a little bit. Like, what pure freedom, by the way, to just sell your stuff, get in a van, and go. Like, I think that is so romantic. The only thing is, I don't know about logistics in terms of electricity. I think that the Instant Pot draws quite a bit. I'm not 100% sure. But if you can swing it with whatever electrical setup you've got in your van, Instant Pot 100 all the way. Because you can saute in it, you can boil things in it, and then you can actually do the batch cooking. Kylie's exactly right, like, there's gonna be a lot of canned beans, for example, and I use that in my I mean, we have this little apartment here. I use canned beans all the time, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, you can because of the versatility of the Instant Pot, I would say that's a huge one. And then I have if you can afford a high-speed blender, I feel like that is just so crucial. But if not, like, a little NutriBullet, especially for on the go. I've actually advised clients to buy a NutriBullet and travel with it if they travel a lot for work, because you can put, frozen fruit in there and whip up a smoothie at any time in a hotel room from a little NutriBullet blender, and they're also really great for making sauces and things. So, if you batch cooked your veggies or you sauteed your veggies in your Instant Pot and you can batch cook a grain, like, let's say, brown rice or something in your Instant Pot, and then you make a little sauce in your NutriBullet. Like, you have a full-on Buddha bowl right there with some greens or whatever, and you are golden, and you can that Buddha bowl formula is so what's versatile, what's the word I'm looking for right now? Like,
Yeah.
that
There's
you
so
can
many options.
yeah, you can have a different meal every single night with that concept alone. So, I think that would be my advice for that.
Keep it really
Yeah,
simple. I love
super
that.
simple.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, we have our Instant Pot lives on our counter in our kitchen
yeah.
because we use it literally practically every single day.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Same with my Vitamix blender, it gets multiple
yeah,
use a day.
multiple uses. That's awesome. That was a really good question, Lauren.
Well,
Also,
it was fun too about like, where are you right now is my question for her. And being in a place where she happens to be in a place where I know what's growing right now and I know what's about to come this summer, which makes me very excited. Having my family in Montana, when those peaches out of Washington State are ready, I don't want to eat anything other than those peaches if you've had them from Washington State.
Mm.
Big and fuzzy and they're perfect and they go with everything or they don't need to go with anything. They're that good. And it was fun to say, like, get local. You are in a great place right now for berries. I mean, lots of things where you have an advantage to, as you were describing, the becoming deeply intuitive about what you're eating because in my mind, I'm thinking about know where you are. It's a beautiful place. It's full of fresh foods and color. And I kind of had that sensory experience of myself. And I'm trying to communicate my excitement to her, because I'm so jealous about where you are. But find that roadside local stand and that's going to be so perfect. Yeah, you've got canned food, no problem. There's nothing unhealthy about that. And now you have the advantage to be locally sampling and also the in season stuff. So much fun to be able to work with food that way.
So true. Yeah, I mean, the farmer's market's a great place to see. I mean, obviously, you can just Google what's in season right now. However, when you go to your grocery store and you see, like, right in the center what's featured and it's on sale because there's so much of it, that's usually what's on in season. And same for your farmer's market. You're going to see exactly what's the freshest. And when you eat produce in season, it is not just the most delicious, but also the most nutrient dense as well, that you'll get at any time of year. And it's just so good for you. And it's yeah, but the flavor is really the biggest selling point, I would say. So definitely dive into what's in season.
Stone fruit season is just around the corner, Lauren. Like it's happening.
So good. Yes.
The mangoes are growing on the trees and we've got, it's all happening down here. So I know what you mean about a good peach.
Explain to
Yeah.
me about egg fruit. I have never heard of this before. I saw someone talking about egg fruit. Like, it's so fleshy. Do you know, Stephanie? Like, what? I mean, have you ever cooked with it?
I've never
Or
heard
what?
of egg fruit
Kylie.
ever. Kylie, do
Yeah,
you know what this is?
I do.
right. Totally up
Okay.
Kylie's alley, dude.
Okay,
I
tell us,
know.
please.
It is a wonderful fruit. It's kind of like a custard. It ends up being like a custardy fruit. You like bite into it and it's like eating, it's very soft. I'm trying to remember if you cut that one or if you bite into it, but either way, you get like a custard experience. Like it is when you have to let it get like really ripe and soft, but it is like sweet and it's creamy and it's like you're literally like, it's amazing.
Oh,
So
that sounds
yes, get some
amazing.
egg fruit. Have you seen, is it something that you saw recently, like, in the store?
I don't know where this person lives in the world, but it was kind of like a, let me show you what I did with this.
There's Allie.
And, when you're in the nutrition world and you open up social media for 1 second, you're going to get a recipe in your face. So that's kind of what happened. But it looked like, am I looking at like the fleshiest mango I've ever seen here? Because I thought like, this is a cousin to a mango, but I was like, I know who to text with this question, right? So I have no idea, and it might be like a $14 fruit, but I mean, it's a must try if
Wow,
you're
I'm gonna look for it.
curious.
Wow.
It's definitely worth trying. You might be able to order it from like some place like Miami Fruit where they sell tropical fruits
I was
that are
gonna say
less
it sounds like
common.
it's tropical. Is that the case? Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I want to say I'm not sure exactly where it's from or where it primarily grows, but like it wouldn't surprise me if it was like a Southeast Asian fruit.
It's
Mhm.
like, where did you try it? Were you in Bali? Would that have been it?
No, I've had it many different times over the years. Actually, I think like one of the fruit markets in LA would have them and like every now and then. So like there's definitely like there are places to get very tropical fruits even if you're not in I never had them in Costa Rica. I'll start with that. I don't think we would get jackfruit there, but not egg fruit. But and I don't know, we ate a lot of durian in Bali. That was which I love. Not everybody loves durian. It does have it's a stinky fruit, but I love it. It tastes amazing.
So the pine tree here in Minnesota that's just dripping sap all over my yard probably isn't going to produce any egg fruit.
Not
But,
egg fruit.
Minnesota, we can get some tropical stuff up here. So,
You can nurture a tropical fruit indoors under a little heat lamp, a little one. I
hmm.
saw this video, and this is like so off topic, but I saw this like adorable video of like this family in like Wisconsin that had a mango tree, and they nurtured this tree. They had a patio for it, and they had like heated floor for the wintertime, and they like put the sunlight on it, and it grew. It lived over generations, and like the family kind of like passed it down to like from the grandparents had it, and then they like passed on, and they passed down the mango tree, it became like a family heirloom,
That's so beautiful.
and
How
it
many cats
produced.
did they have?
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. The cats might have a way with that mango tree. But because it was indoors, well, I think that they would take it outside in the summer, like during the during the warmest time of
Huh.
the month of the year. But it was like this rare mango tree in Wisconsin. So anyway, it's possible.
Where there's a
So
will, there's a fruit.
that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
that way.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
I think that kind of brings us back to seasonal fruit shopping and the different things that are in season. And that's such a great strategy, especially if you're somebody who can like go berry picking and stock up for the winter, stock up the freezer. That idea of batch prepping isn't just about making food, it's also prepping what you have in your freezer, perhaps, or,
Do that.
you know,
Yeah. I go and buy
yeah,
20 pounds of blueberries when they're in season and I just freeze them. Yeah,
yeah.
because they're never as delicious, but also as inexpensive as they are when they're in season.
Right. So finding out the economical ways of making this lifestyle really supportive, that's another way of thinking about it. Like, well, what can I buy when it's in season or when it's on sale? A lot of times in the grocery store, I'll see they'll have like the 10 for 10 frozen vegetable bags. I go crazy and I just stock up on frozen bags of vegetables because I know we're going to use them. Maybe they're not in the plan for that upcoming week, but I'll eventually get that broccoli out and the corn, it'll all come out eventually.
Yeah.
Same thing with like certain pantry items, things that you can stock up on that are shelf stable. When they're on sale, stock up, have at it because you're going to eventually go through it and then you'll be glad you have it on the shelf when you need that ingredient.
So true. Like when a pandemic hits.
Hearing both of you guys say, like, as a tip is to be an opportunistic buyer with groceries, right? Do you
For sure.
find it's really as someone who cooks a lot and buying ingredients all the time and, sticking to a list, I suppose, versus impulse buying, what kind of tips do you have right there that are really smart shopping and cost effective?
Yeah. For me, I like it's basically exactly what you said. There are quite a wide variety of staple foods that I buy on an ongoing basis that I just replace when I run out. So it's not, I don't have to be continually creative about that. That's just something like, for example, I get in bulk, as a matter of fact. So I'll order them from Amazon. Split yellow lentils, moong dal, sometimes called golden lentils or uh, mung beans. Those are a huge staple for me. Giant bag of yellow quinoa from Costco. I get French green lentils and beluga lentils, and lentils are my favorite. I feel like they're the unsung hero of the whole food plant based cooking world because a lot of people have trouble digesting beans, but lentils are a lot easier to digest. They're still protein rich and fiber rich, and they're so delicious, but you can cook them in 15 minutes from dry, whereas beans take a lot longer or a little more planning in your instant pot, for example. So, like I said about with that spaghetti dinner that I mentioned earlier, like, the lentils are done in 15 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. Like, it's so easy. And so few people realize how easy it is. Of course, you can buy cooked lentils as well in a can or in the refrigerated section at Trader Joe's, for example. But they're so good dry when you cook them dry. And it's just as easy as cooking a pot of rice. Like there's nothing to it. You just simmer them for 15 minutes and they're delicious. So something to keep in mind if you have not explored cooking with lentils, please do that. I think it could be life changing.
And your favorite thing to do with them? Favorite meal?
love I love a good lentil soup. I gotta say, that's like a once a week thing for me. Because not only do you get those beautiful alliums, like you mentioned earlier, Lauren, the onions and garlic, which are great for anti inflammatory, you get your lentils in there, you get some veggies if you want. I'll put in a colander full of bok choy or kale as part of that soup. And you can go nuts on the spices, which are so antioxidant rich, like beautiful medicinal plants like turmeric and cumin and ginger. And um, I feel like there's nothing better for your body than that. And it's a really quick meal too. Like two different lentils. I'll use red lentils and the golden lentils I just mentioned. After I've sauteed some onions and garlic together, maybe some fresh ginger, I'll grate into that. And then the vegetable broth and their rice. Sometimes I'll even put in some rice. I'll give the rice a head start, then I'll add the lentils, and that's it. Anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, and you've got a giant pot of soup. And that's one more thing I wanted to say. If you're trying to establish a routine, the principle of cook once, eat twice at least is a huge time saver and it really makes things work. So I get to like make a dinner. It might take me, let's say I spend a whole hour on it, like let's exaggerate. And then I don't have to do anything for dinner the next day except heat it up. So, my husband and I can go for a walk during that time, or we can go rock climbing. It's our new hobby. We're obsessed with rock climbing. We go to the indoor rock climbing gym. But yeah, or you just go out for a jog or a walk. The soup is, you heat up the soup when you get home for dinner. It's just like such a beautiful thing. So a lentil soup is my favorite go-to meal.
That sounds so good.
Yeah,
It's so
I know.
good.
That sounds amazing. If anybody else is hungry right now, we understand why. So, yes, that sounded amazing. This kind of is bringing me back to the garlic that you found in the spice aisle,
Oh, yeah.
the fermented garlic, right? Which you said was something that was an addition that you added, but it was something that is now easy to find. But it reminds me that a lot of the things that you're talking about in these strategies around food and food prepping, like having those types of ingredients available, right? Having the variety of spices to add to your soups, to add to your Buddha bowls. I kind of do the same thing. Like when tend to like hang out in the spice aisle a little bit, looking for
Yeah.
something new or fresh or fun that I can add into the mix. Because even things like poultry rub or something, look at the blend of herbs and spice. It's all herbs and spices. But when you look at the blend, it may have a different flavor profile, right, than one of the other blends. And I just love stocking my spice drawer with as many different options as possible. And so that's another fun kind of like game I like to play in the grocery store. It's like, what can we bring home that's new this week? And specifically around the spices. And you mentioned how wonderful these spices are in the sense of anti-inflammatory power and, all the healing powers of spices and herbs. So, what's in your rotation right now? Like what's in your heavy rotation?
My gosh. Great question. All of it, all of it. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think and I think a lot of recipes find a recipe on a blog and try it out. But then, like, make it your own. Like, you can really start to get gradually, if you want to, creative with what you add in there. So, like, and what I find is that you can go a lot heavier on a lot of these spices and amp up, like, really turn up the volume on the flavor and make it even better. Like, and so that's sort of how my go-to lentil soup has evolved, where I just kind of go crazy with the curry powder and the turmeric and the cumin. Oh my gosh, I love cumin. A little bit of black cumin for its medicinal properties, and then a ginger. Oh, and I'm really obsessed right now with smoked paprika, like the smoky element that adds to so many things. So delicious. And I think that the fermented black garlic from Trader Joe's is another really great one. So, for example, last night for dinner, I made a sachana masala, which is a Indian spiced chickpeas, mostly a tomato based sauce, but I really go heavy on the curry, the turmeric, cumin, and then I sprinkle in now, which I didn't used to do because this is a new development, that fermented black garlic, and it actually not only does it flavor the sauce, but it actually turns it this deeper, beautiful color, like this deep gold color. It's just the whole thing, the whole experience. And then the apartment in my case smells amazing, and it lingers, and it just the whole thing so healing for your body. It's an easy to digest meal and anti-inflammatory, and it's so good for you.
Did you say it's also fermented, that black
Yeah,
garlic?
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody's ever had fresh fermented garlic before. This sounds like this is a dried, like a
It is dried, yes,
okay.
but I have
Have
fresh.
you had?
Yeah.
So yes.
It's a
I mean,
California thing, right?
yeah. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't remember. I feel like I've had it very recently somewhere, and somebody literally was like, "Here, try this," and I was like, "Okay." It was amazing. The flavor was just like popping in a
It's
different way. Yeah, it was very different than like obviously regular garlic. It's much smoother. It doesn't have that bite to it.
I would liken it a little bit to roasted garlic. Like,
Yes.
somehow
Yeah.
the fermentation has, like, smoothed out the flavor in a way that roasting does. Similar to that, I would
Similar.
say. Yeah.
I totally
So
agree.
you
It
can
Yeah.
was
just bathe in it, right?
literally.
That's how
I
I feel
would.
about roasted garlic,
Yeah.
and you smell like it for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
This I don't think this
Absolutely.
has that effect as much for whatever
Yeah.
that's worth.
I totally agree, and I think that was, like, such a big aha moment for me, so the fact that when you just mentioned it was at Trader Joe, I'm like, "Okay, well, I know where I'm going tomorrow, I know what I'm
Yeah.
putting in my cart."
I'll text you a photo of what it looks like so you can know
Okay,
what to look for, but it's right next to the other
thank you.
spices, you'll see it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, and that's like something, again, we talk about like some of the things that make this process more joyful. I mean, I can even tell just the way that we are all lighting up talking about these foods, right? This is the kind of experience that you too can have when you're thinking about meal planning and being in your kitchen. And if you are prepping food for other people in your household, how can you get them involved? I like to bring Indigo in the kitchen with me, and she has her own cutting board and her own little knives. They're not blades, they're safe for toddlers. But it's fun to also have her involved in the kitchen and the meal planning. And then she's very proud. We play restaurant at dinner time so she can serve the food that she's prepared. And, it's a great way connect with the people in your family, the people in your life. Being in the kitchen, I don't know about you guys, but people always end up in the kitchen in my home anyway. So like make it a place that feels good for you. Do you have any thoughts on that stuff just as a final thought, like in terms of like creating
Yes,
that space?
I do actually.
Yeah.
Make it beautiful for yourself. And beautiful can have different definitions. I, for example, where a lot of people might put fresh flowers in their kitchen, I have a bowl of fresh fruit and it's so pretty. And I've like invested in a bowl that's also lovely to look at. And then the fruits in there, it's part of the decor of my living room. So, I mean, my kitchen is kind of small, but you can think outside the box a little bit. Not only is it beautiful to look at and often it smells fragrant as the fruit ripens, but it also makes it a very accessible snack. Like it's there. If you're going to like impulse eat something, it might as well be a piece of fresh fruit and it's there for you. A bowl of oranges would be another great option for that. Or, those little clementines that are easy to peel. So that's one way. I also try to invest over time, and you don't have to go all out and spend a lot of money, but maybe even just go to Goodwill and see what's there. Pretty dishes, right? Pretty measuring cups and spoons, like just the little things that can add a little extra joy to your cooking process. And then one big enjoyment factor, I think it's a little bit under the radar for a lot of people, is having a sharp chef's knife. Because when you're chopping vegetables and your knife is dull, it is such drudgery. But you don't actually need to go and buy like a $300 Japanese chef's knife. You can buy a $10 knife sharpener. Use your chef's knife and just sharpen it every once in a while. It is a zero skill thing. The one that's $10, you can buy it on Amazon. I think I have like an Amazon storefront. If you want to look, I have like all of my recommended tools up there. But it's basically you put the knife on the countertop blade up, you hold it there but like let it protrude off the edge of your counter a little bit. And then you just run this thing over it 3 times. You wash your knife because there might be little like shavings before you use it, but that's it. Like, and then it's life changing. So sharpen your knife. That's a big one for enjoyment in the kitchen. And not too many people are talking about it. So this is a Green Glow Lifestyle Podcast exclusive tip. Yeah. And then, you could diffuse some lovely essential oils and just make it beautiful for yourself. Put music on, put on your favorite podcast while you're cooking. Listen to Lauren and Kylie while you're cooking. I do that. I'm not kidding. I'm not just blowing smoke. I really do that. Like I love you guys. And you feel like you're talking with your friends and it's life enhancing information. Immerse yourself, make it a full experience that can be enjoyable. If you love to dance, put on your favorite music and bop around while you're whatever, sorting your lentils or chopping your onion. It can be lovely. You can get your kids involved. Like Kylie said, you can even activities like baking are really great with older kids. Like my nieces love to bake muffins with me, or whatever it is. So you can really involve the whole family and make it fun and beautiful. I think that the beauty aspect, but like I said, it's not just aesthetic beauty. It can be sensory beauty or it can be conceptual. Like think about the people you're about to feed with this food and how much you love them. And then even that elevates your mood and makes it more enjoyable to be there.
You're describing a ritual, and I think that is super cool. The word routine is scary at times, and the feeling I have to put something on the table is completely rewire your thinking around what you do with food. And if you don't think your food is beautiful, it can't be that exciting to cook either. The plant predominant world, there's a way to tiptoe into that. And most of those tiptoes are with pretty colorful foods. Can't really go wrong. Just start small and have a sharp knife.
That's right.
That is like seriously like chef's kiss advice right there. Cause you're right. There's nothing worse than trying to cut a tomato with a dull blade. I mean, really.
You often
Any
don't
vegetable.
know it until you're like, "This knife sucks," and then, like you said, you don't have to go and buy another, $300 set. You need to just take care of your stuff.
Well, exactly. And I think again, we live in a very disposable world. Like it's just like, oh, I have to get a new knife, I have to get something new. Well, no, you just like, here's a way you can actually take care of the one you have. And I like that you brought up like shopping at a thrift store or consignment for some beautiful bowls. I mean, same thing. I love having that eclectic style where you can kind of find new things to bring in and like showcase I mean, we have an entire bookshelf full of produce.
Right.
So I have all
Exactly.
different types of bowls. And so I love that style. And it does really bring it to the front of mind too. Like, well, we've got to use this produce before,
That's right.
it goes bad. So if it's tucked away in a pantry or in the refrigerator in the back of the fridge, and that, there we'll have to have you back another time, Steph, so we can like talk about how to rotate your produce.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can do the pantry.
Pantry clean out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That'll be so much fun. Like how to store produce and also, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a whole series coming here.
Great.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has just been so much fun. And, you mentioned the words prep once, eat twice, or cook once, eat twice. And that is just such a brilliant little takeaway. I like kind of feel like that could be the title of this episode. Because really, that's such a great way to start thinking about, it's like there's so many different tips and tricks and how to navigate making more of your own food at home. I mean, that's a great way to jumpstart your health in general. And when you're cooking with fresh ingredients, whole food ingredients, you're going to get the optimal nutrition out of that. So, I like the idea of, cook once, eat twice or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Tips with Stefanie. Thank you so
Oh my
much.
goodness. Thank you for having me. It has really been fun and also really an honor. I really appreciate coming on here and just geeking out with two amazing women like you who are passionate about the same thing. The whole thing has been so fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think the blog that we'll have for this particular episode is going to be awesome. We're going to have so many links in there. We'll link to
Yeah.
to your freebie. We can throw some recipes in there, and all of a sudden, you're going to have a guide just from this particular episode about what you can start with in your kitchen without making it too hard on yourself. Yeah, all of that will be linked in to the notes, so you can just cook yourself happy and joyful and have fun with it.
Yes. I love
And
it.
don't forget your trapper keeper.
That's right. Start your binder. That's right. Slide your heartthrob in the front.
Oh my gosh.
Kylie, you need to make
Send us.
one.
That's happening this weekend.
Arts and crafts again, just like our tortilla
That's
video.
right. We're going to have arts and crafts, and I'm going to come back next week with my trapper keeper, and it's going to be good.
You
I
can
can't
have
wait
I
like
to
have,
see
John
it.
Stamos on there or like
I mean, you guys don't know. I'm going to
John
surprise you
Stamos. Who
with
was
my
your childhood
heartthrob.
heartthrob? Who was it?
Mine was Michael J. Fox. He was in Family Ties, the whole thing. I had a
good
picture
one.
of him on my wall poster.
Good
Good
times. No, it's
one.
not weird at all. Everybody did. Yeah.
I know. Anybody else want to share?
I was like, mm-mm.
Come on. We were all
No,
eight
You don't
once.
want to share or you didn't have one?
a handful. I'm
Okay.
thinking. I'm
Okay. Okay.
sifting.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was
But it's
not
been a
really a
while.
heartthrob girl, actually. I don't think I had one. Maybe looking back, I thought Tom Cruise was handsome, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I was more like the girl who went for the nerdy guy. Like,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, if Big Bang Theory had existed then, you would have been like
Oh,
all
yeah,
over that,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. The
That was your
quiet
guy.
intellectual for me every time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's where Michael J. Fox slipped into my radar, I was like, "He's so nerdy." But he was also Teen Wolf. I mean, come on.
Oh, there you go. A little edge to him. That's cute.
You've made
Nerdy with
quite
an
the
edge.
change from
That's my
Teen
type.
Wolf.
So fun.
Oh my god. Okay,
You could have
well,
gone more of the opposite direction than Teen Wolf, Kylie.
I could have.
You
Well,
could
I
have
have.
gone
Yeah,
in
my
more of the more
anti
opposite.
I have like yeah, my yeah, zero hair man.
Serves you right with that Teen Wolf crush.
That's right, exactly. That's what I get. Well, in any event, well, I'll come back with my trapper keeper, and then you guys will really see who's my heartthrob. And I will, yeah, thank you, Stefanie, so much for being here. We'll have you back again
Yeah.
soon. We'll plan something else fun in the future. I'll see you soon, and see you next time.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Lauren. Bye.